Of an odd shower later, temperatures a couple of degrees down on Saturdays. Then a real change takes place into the start of next week. Showery and much cooler.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're kick-starting summer with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Very good evening. It's 9 o'clock. You're watching Patrick Christys tonight. With me, Bev Turner, the main man. Thought he was a bit too hot. He stayed at home tonight. Can't come out in hot weather. I'm joking. He's on a holiday. Have a great time, won't you, Patrick? And we will see you back here next week. But this is our lovely studio audience coming up tonight. Angela Rayner is booted out of Unite the Union over the bin strikes. It feels a bit like the left is eating itself alive also tonight. Well, the Great British Pub is facing extinction, it seems, and luckily they're not all like that. They are shutting at the rate, though, of over one a day. Meanwhile, the government wants state-subsidised restaurants. Can you believe it?
Many people in your country explained that Brexit would make it possible to fight more effectively against illegal immigration, but it's in fact since Brexit that the UK has no migratory agreement with the EU.
Emmanuel Macron blames Brexit for the illegal migration crisis. It tells us plebs that we were sold a lie. Was he right? Oh, and have a listen to this.
and, of course, irregular migration across the English Channel.
Reform's Deputy Leader Richard Tice has criticised the King for being too political after his no borders comments with President Macron this week, saying that the late Queen would never have dared to be so opinionated. Should the monarch stay quiet on political matters? And remember this.
This is a letter from His Majesty the King. It's an invitation for a second state visit. This is really special.
That cringe fest, of course, was the start of Donald Trump getting a state visit. We now know he's not going to be allowed to talk to Parliament. Isn't this the most outrageous snub of the most powerful man in the world, who was, of course, democratically elected? On my panel tonight, we've got broadcasting royalty, Christo Fufas. We have got pub landlord and fan favourite Adam Brooks. Fearless commentator, the brilliant Esther Kraku. And our favourite lovely lefty former Labour advisor, Matthew Torbett. All that and more. Get ready, Bryn. Here we go. Labour is now even falling out with the unions. Do they speak for anybody in this country? Next.
Very good evening. Your latest headlines at 9 o'clock. The top story this evening, the Home Secretary says Britain's new migrant returns deal with France is robust and ready to face down any legal challenge. Sir Keir Starmer's struck a one-in, one-out agreement with President Macron to stop the small boats, though it still needs to get the green light from Brussels. France's leader has blamed Brexit for fueling the crisis, but the UK insists a new plan will work, with migrants arriving illegally set to be detained upon arrival. Border Force and the RNLI were back in the Channel this morning as the first boatload reached Dover. However, Tory leader Kemi Badenoch doubts the practicality of the deal.
The deal that Keir Starmer has signed with Macron is not a deterrent. It doesn't do anything to reduce immigration, and one in, one out also means that as we're taking people, if the asylum seekers who go back to France get there, they can come back again. So we could have the same person going back and forth while we're receiving other people on France's behalf. Emmanuel Macron is working very much in the French national interest. We need our Prime Minister to work in the British national interest.
US President Donald Trump is currently speaking in Texas following the catastrophic floods. Seeing live pictures on your screen from Texas now. In the last few minutes, he's confirmed that the Coast Guard rescue crew have saved 169 children from Camp Mystic during their efforts. President Trump, First Lady Melania Trump and the Texas Governor, Greg Abbott, met with first responders and emergency workers earlier at one of the scenes of devastation. This, of course, follows the torrential rain that we saw last week that led to the bursting of the banks of the Guadalupe River, killing 120 people. And this evening, we've learnt that former Metropolitan Police Commissioner Lord Ian Blair has died at the age of 72. The crossbench peer and senior police officer led the UK's largest force between 2005 and 2008. Lord Blair was appointed commissioner just months before the deadly 7/7 suicide bomb attacks that killed 52 people on London's transport network. Stepping down 3 years later, he called it the proudest task of my life to lead the men and women of the Metropolitan Police. And Prince William's charity polo match has raised over £1 million for good causes, bringing the total from his fundraising games to more than £14 million. The Prince of Wales scored during today's Royal Charity Polo Cup at Guards Polo Club near Windsor, helping his team clinch victory. The event supports 10 charities backed by William and Kate, from Child Bereavement UK to the Forward Trust, which helps people overcome addiction. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me in an hour, but now it's back to Bev.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
been a scorcher of a day. I'm so pleased you all made it. Not easy, I know. You've had problems with trains and all sorts of things to get here today, so thank you. Now, Angela Rayner has been kicked out of the Unite Union. Just let that sink in. The party that is meant to represent the working person is now considered the enemy by the organisation representing, that's right, the working person. At its conference in Brighton today, Unite members overwhelmingly passed a motion to suspend Angela Rayner, along with Birmingham leader John Cotton, for bringing the union into disrepute. Labour say that she's already left Unite months ago, which sounds a bit like, you can't dump me, I'd already chucked you earlier. Well, the British Medical Association, of course, they're still basking in the glory of their 22% pay rise last year, now want another 29%, and frankly, who would blame them? Is Labour able to find a magic money tree whenever the unions ask for it? Look at the pain and embarrassment in Health Secretary's eyes as he, yet again, is held to ransom.
So I say to them even now, the offer to meet remains open. The need for these strikes does not exist. Work with us rather than against us, not least because resident doctors know, as well as everyone else, the NHS is hanging by a thread and they're threatening to pull it.
So, pensioners, farmers, kids with special needs, motorists, every day, Labour seem to be adding to the list of people who they are upsetting. Are they running out of allies? Matthew Torbett, let me come to you first.
They're managing to annoy most members of the voter base. It's a risky strategy when your voter base was very broad but quite shallow. I think that's the biggest mistake. I think this stuff today is a bit silly. I think Angela Rayner, as a working class woman, has delivered the Employment Rights Bill, Renters' Rights Bill and invested in affordable housing. I don't know what more the unions are expecting at this point in time. And I think when union membership is dwindling, because they're not seen as largely relevant, I do think there is a place and a role still for the trade unions to play. But if you're going to run around suspending Angela Rayner and talking about 29% pay increases, you might as well pack up and go home, because you're going to become even less relevant as time goes on. If they want to re-examine their relationship with the Labour Party, that's up to them. I would caution, first of all, those resident doctors who are looking to go on strike, as well as Sharon Graham and anyone else. Tell me where you'll find a more pro-worker government, even under this current Labour Party. I don't think Reform are going to do you any favours as pro-workers. I certainly don't think the Conservatives will either. So they might want to be careful about where they're going to put their money. If they want to go and help Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana, they're obviously more than welcome to. They're not going to form the next government.
The symbolism, Esther, though, of the union saying we don't want Angela Rayner on board is pretty profound, isn't it?
Well, it's the reason that they gave, which is probably even more profound. So they said that her government, she's been part of a government that's been peddling lies about the bin strikers in Birmingham. And actually, it's what this has shown is a complete lack of actual governance. So what the government should have said is we should actually amend the kind of legal jurisdiction that allows judges to rule on the economic value of workers, because this is where it stems from. Birmingham City Council lost a case where office cleaners brought a case against them for employee discrimination, saying that we should make as much money as bin cleaners. Well, if that was the case, you would be bin cleaners. You would be picking up bins at 4 a.m, rain or shine, and doing that exact kind of work. But the real issue is the fact that a judge was allowed to adjudicate on something that is clearly outside of their remit and cost Birmingham City Council hundreds of millions of pounds in payments. That is something that, as a member of the cabinet, Angela Rayner can do something about. She hasn't. And the argument is she's basically peddling lies and saying that the bin cleaners are being greedy, when actually they're being asked to cut back their pay because of the incompetence of the government and Birmingham City Council to allow this case to have even got that far. So that's the problem here.
But Christo, if you look at the list of people that we just gave there, whether Angela Rayner is peddling lies or not on this issue, to add the unions to that, if they can't even keep the unions on side over something like a bin strike, who are they representing?
Oh, it is just so delicious, though, isn't it? I mean, Unite kicked out Angela. Do you know, it's like It's like, you know, it's like Kentucky Fried Chicken without Colonel Sanders. Do you know what I mean? That's what it's like. It's so fundamental. And the irony, of course, which is that it's over a bin strike, and now, well, she's been put in the bin, hasn't she? By Unite. And you're absolutely right. They're managing to irritate absolutely everyone. And normally, when you have a government, and there's nothing normal about this government, but when you have a government, they have an ideological framework. So you would have a government that I don't know, if it was a Thatcherite government, well, you know, it's going to be very pro-business. It's going to annoy, perhaps, people who were in mining towns. There is usually a thread about who you would annoy and who you don't. Whereas these guys, you've got to give them credit, they just annoy everyone. There is no one left that they haven't annoyed, whether it be farmers,
equal
whether it be
opportunity
parents,
haters.
it's everyone.
Yeah.
Trying to be generous of what Matt was saying then about, you know, the low paid, they've increased minimum wage. That may be good, Adam, but not so good if you're then the boss paying the wages.
And increased unemployment as a result.
Everyone deserves fair pay, and we all want to pay our workers as much as we can. But businesses have got to find that. And what this government doesn't realise is they keep putting further burdens on small businesses like myself. I've got a pub. Where do I find that extra £300 a week to pay staff? What's happened since the budget is I've cut shifts or I've let people go and I've had to put my prices up because they've added £30,000 to my costs for 1 year. It's unsustainable. So it's fine representing workers, but soon there won't be many businesses that can afford to have workers. And that's what this Labour government is doing. We were told that Labour were going to stabilise the workforce. We were told that all these strikes were going to end. Yet we're seeing strikes across the board in multiple sectors. We've got Birmingham that looks like a third world country. Rats.
I think actually, sorry, you've just insulted a few third world countries there, I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
We've got rats the size of cats in Birmingham because of this bin strike. They're taking us back to the 1970s. A doctor's strike. People are going to die. These doctors are putting money over lives. They've had 29%, I think, over the last 3 years. There's some people I know in different sectors that are earning less than they was 10, 15 years ago. They're not going on strike. They're providing for their families. If you're going to be a doctor, save lives, like, you know, don't put money first.
I will say this. Wes Streeting raised a really valid point, which is you have to choose between your gold-plated pension, public pension, which is, in many cases, actually double what many private pensions are, or you have to stick with what you've got in terms of this pay rise. And I think that's a balance that most of the public never get to hear. Politicians are never dishonest, and I can't believe I'm defending Wes Streeting. But it's the truth. At the end of the day, a lot of these doctors, as unsatisfied as they may be about their pay, they live in a global marketplace where being a healthcare professional is highly valued. And I'm not saying they should all run off to Australia or whatever, but they knew what they were going to be earning when they entered this profession. Have there been policy failures with regards to recruiting doctors, training our own doctors? Of course there have been, but you can't also forget the fact that you have a very, very good pension that you're going to be getting at the end of your career. So you have to make a choice because the public purse is not infinite. And I'm sorry, economic growth has ground to a halt. So we have an ever-shrinking pie that we need to be, you know, cutting slices for, and the public has to choose.
So they've had 22%.
Yeah, they had 20% last year. They want another 29.
I didn't know. We all spoke.
Yeah.
They've had 28.9% over the last 3 years.
So, and they want 22 more.
Well, they want more.
So actually, I forgot to tell you, Bev, we all got together for this. We want 51% more fee for this show.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Bev. We all got together and said that.
But here's the thing: if we had all been given a nearly 30% pay rise already, and you,
I would be bowing down and kissing the feet of the GB News bosses.
but it would embolden you to go, oh, maybe I'll go and ask for it again. Can I have it again? This is the problem.
But I don't think that's a bad thing. But that's the job of a union, to try and get better pay for their work. I have no problem with that. I think it's, again, it comes down to governance and the politicians. Be honest. We don't have the money, so you get to choose. You either get less in your pension and more upfront now, or you just take what you've got.
Be honest, it's going to cost lives. And this is the thing.
Exactly.
So it's money over lives. It will cost lives.
We were so repeatedly told, weren't we, when the last government, oh no, when we come in, we just need to all get round the table and negotiate, and it's all going to be fine. And it's chaos. It's more chaos than it was with the last lot.
Right, thank you. Good start, guys. And we're going to get some questions from the audience as well in the next section, but I've just got to tell you about a chance to win our biggest cash prize. Here are the details you need to make it yours.
You have the chance to win our biggest cash prize to date in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just the chance to sit back, relax, and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Now, the pub. Many of you are watching this tonight rather than being in the pub. In that case, we don't mind, but we do not want to lose our pub. They are shutting at a rate of over 1 a day. Meanwhile, the government wants state-subsidised restaurants. That's right, we'll be telling you all about it in just a minute. I'm Bev Turner. You're watching Patrick Christys tonight on GBNews.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
Practice Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel. Welcome back to Dr. Christys tonight with me, Bev Turner. So crime is out of control, our economy is stagnating, But don't worry, our government is trialling the launch of state-funded restaurants, along with food delivery services. Now, these 2 taxpayer-funded restaurants are going to be opened in Dundee and Nottingham next summer. These 6 nanny state schemes will share £8.5 million of taxpayers' money, and that is just the trial. Pubs, of course, are closing at a rate of 1 a day, at least, across Britain this year. And that would amount to about 5,000, at least, job losses within the sector. Don't worry about the pubs closing, of course. The government is going to provide the hospitality. Adam Brooks.
It's just all lies. I sat round a table with Angela Rayner and others about 2 or 3 years ago, and I was impressed by her rhetoric on hospitality. She was promising this. We was after a VAT cut at the time. And she made all these promises saying how much she loved hospitality, and it was in her family, it was in her veins. And then this government's come in, and their budget is just like a wrecking ball for this industry. 70,000 hospitality jobs have been lost since the budget kicked in. You know, this is a disaster, an absolute disaster. £30,000 extra on my costs per year in my pub. That's 80 or 90,000 I have to take over the bar to cover that. That's 14,500 pints extra I've got to sell because of this Labour government's budget. Now, our customers have got less money than they've ever had before. So where are we going to make this up? I'm letting people go, I'm putting my prices up, and that is being rolled out across hospitality now.
So when you hear that they're going to be opening restaurants funded by the taxpayer, you start to think, is it just deliberate?
I think so, because those, you know, if they're going to be funded, then all the local restaurants and pubs in that area are going to end up being hit.
Well, it's so that they can give cheap food, so they'll be like £3 a meal. And they're saying, well, some people can't afford to go out and eat, so we will subsidise the rest. And
then they're going to roll it out for the rest of the country, and then more pubs and more restaurants will get... This is like a communist state. I don't want to say it. This Labour government is going further and further to the left, and I worry what we've got left in 4 years.
Christo, like, if when they came into government, if somebody had said, you know what Keir Starmer's going to do? He's going to open restaurants paid for by the taxpayer, you go, no, he's literally read that in 1984. He'd never actually do it.
It's sort of a bit insane. So right, so if you're a landlord, you're going to be renting your house to the government for illegal migrants. If you're a publican, then the government will take over your business to feed people. I mean, just like... I mean, are they going to nationalise, like, going to the toilet? Are we going to be taken to the loo by Keir Starmer? Do you know what I mean? Because none of us will be able to know how to do it.
He wouldn't come out if he went in the toilet with me, I'll tell you.
I mean...
Is that why you won't let me follow you in the toilet, Adam? Is that the same reason?
We joke, but it's about the state, Esther. So I just want to say to them, can you just get out of our lives? Like, do the bare minimum that you're meant to do.
Oh, I think that's the main point, the bare minimum. The main point. Because, I mean, so the rationale behind this is we want to get people eating healthier, and so their argument is people that live in more impoverished areas suffer higher rates of being overweight or obese, and so we want to trial low-cost, healthy food. The point that I'm making is the government doesn't have any business doing that. They can't even get the basics right. Our borders are completely out of control. Our NHS is constantly under pressure. Why are you trialling something with public money that you have no business doing? And yet, for example, this week, the Leveson report that came out has shown that there are 80,000 cases still backlogged in our Crown courts. You can't do anything about that. The most basic function of the government to sustain law and order, they cannot do that, but they want to give people £3 meals.
Yeah.
It's just tone deaf.
Come on. Help us out here, because we feel like we're living in a parallel universe.
What would you advise them, Matt? What would you say? Look, come on, you're a former advisor.
I mean, it wasn't on my bingo card during the general election, I must admit. I will say, in some level of defence, that 500 million meals were served during what was essentially nationalised restaurants during World War II, and they were seen as good, nutritious, and helped all manner of diseases being eliminated.
We were in a world war.
No, I agree. It's not the greatest, sort of thing to be comparing it to. But I think there's a stigma where I think this is better than a food bank. And I think my understanding is that they will have other things in there, such as advice on benefits and whatever else. If it's more of it's not a restaurant per se, I think it's somewhere where you can go and get a cheap, hot
It's like a soup kitchen, but very...
But without the stigma of a soup kitchen, this is exactly it. So I think I do appreciate the impact.
Pubs and restaurants out of business in that area.
I don't think this will go further than 2 pilots. This becomes almost impossible to bring up on a national scale.
Why are they wasting
Because I think if you
£8.5
can
million?
identify pinch points where there is severe deprivation in certain parts of the country, then you may put it
So the
somewhere
pinch points
like
have been
that.
identified. We have more knowledge and more access to nutrition information than ever, yet we're fatter than ever. I'm sorry, I think the government should do what they have been tasked to do from the beginning, which is to secure our borders and to make sure that the economy doesn't ground to a halt. I don't think it's their priority to be looking at overweight children and thinking, oh gosh, how can I put the kind of food I want in your mouth? That's parents' responsibilities. But guess what? Their parents are broke and frustrated and they're paying taxes and want the bare minimum sorted. That is the frustration. They can have all the good intentions they want in the world, but I'm sorry, there is no reason why we should be shelling out £8 billion a day in asylum hotels, and yet they're putting money behind these pointless trials.
And I think that is the fundamental point. We've got state-funded breakfasts, state-funded school meals, now state-funded restaurants. Give people low enough taxes they can buy their own
That's
food.
right. Let's keep more of their own money.
And cook it. Have the time to actually cook it.
Have more of your own money than use it yourself.
If this government doesn't give hospitality some sort of break, if we do not get a VAT cut, in Europe the VAT rate is nearly half in many countries than it is here, and that is because they want to encourage people to eat and drink. They want to encourage people to go on holiday, so tourism has a lower VAT rate. These people in power do not understand that sometimes you've got to give something to get more back. And all they keep doing is taking and taking and taking, and pubs are closing, restaurants are closing, and you know, these are first-time jobs for many people. They're not going to be there much longer, you know?
You see, but my feeling is, like, they must know that. Like,
So it looks on purpose.
It looks deliberate.
They're
incredibly
Adam asked what I'd advise. You need to bring back the NICS rate to where it was. I think that was... you either do the minimum wage or the NICS. You do both, you kill hospitality. It is the 5th largest employer in the country. We've just recently had an industrial strategy put forward. The nighttime economy was not in there whatsoever. Yeah. And I think hospitality is seen as something that just gets on with itself. Yeah. 69,000 jobs have been lost in hospitality since the budget alone. Yeah. Adam will know all this himself. And I think you need to be appealing to business to ensure that they're employing people. If you do things like rising NICS as well as the minimum wage, it becomes inflationary and therefore growth is non-existent.
Hospitality led us out of the COVID lockdowns. It led the economy out of a real dark place. And yet all we're doing is we're getting kicked in the face every time by successive governments as well. So it is either incompetence or it's on purpose. And many in hospitality now, we're looking at it and thinking they don't want us here.
Yeah. Right, we want you here.
God, that's depressing. I feel a bit depressed after that.
Well, let's not feel depressed. Come on, it is
do.
a Friday night. When you finish watching this show, you've got to go. It'll be too late.
Go to the pub.
Go to the pub. Don't finish till midnight. We're here for hours.
That's why you need a 51% pay rise.
Right, coming up next, Ticey gets icy. Reforms. Deputy Leader Richard Tice has criticised King Charles III for getting too political, saying that his late mother, Queen Elizabeth, would never have been so opinionated. So should the monarch stay out of politics? I'm Bev Turner. You're watching Patrick Christys tonight on GB News.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst the UK will experience Mediterranean-like temperatures on Saturday, it's not going to be quite as hot through the Mediterranean as it has been recently. For the Canaries and for Madeira, fairly typical conditions of the time of year. Breezy, partly cloudy, otherwise fine. But we've got this area of thunderstorms developing across northern Spain, the Pyrenees, Andorra, southern France. They could be quite lively. And for Italy, for Greece, sunny spells. Not quite as hot, but it is going to heat up into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's going to be a very warm night out there. Clear skies for most, but temperatures in many places not dropping below the high teens or even low 20s. And with high pressure in charge, we're going to see plenty of sunshine as we start the weekend and even hotter weather to come. Now, we do have an area of low cloud and mist around the North Sea. That's going to just creep inland in some parts of eastern Scotland and eastern England overnight. Otherwise, it's clear skies and temperatures not falling far. 17, 18 Celsius typically, but in some spots, particularly, say, Western Scotland, temperatures won't fall below 20 Celsius. So an uncomfortable night for sleeping. And a misty start to the day for eastern parts of Scotland with some low cloud around first thing. But elsewhere across Scotland, it's sunshine from the word go. Temperatures rising quickly through the morning. Likewise for Northern Ireland, barely a cloud in the sky. Wales, Western England, seeing plenty of strong sunshine right the way through the morning with those temperatures increasing rapidly. But along that east coast, we do have that low cloud in places. That's going to limit the temperature rise a bit more during the morning. It will tend to become more restricted to the far east coast around the beaches by the afternoon. But here it's going to be cooler because of this breeze from the North Sea. So not as hot across East Anglia and the southeast compared with the last few heat waves, but inland and widely across central and western England, Wales, parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, temperatures reaching or exceeding 30 Celsius. Top temperature 34 degrees somewhere in the West Midlands. Now, Sunday is also going to be a hot day, but a couple of differences. A bit more cloud in the sky, chance of an odd shower later. Temperatures a couple of degrees down on Saturdays. Then a real change takes place into the start of next week. Showery and much cooler.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Who is he? What's he doing there?
They already know who you are, though.
Don't miss this special reunion. Eamon and Anne together again, only on GB News Breakfast this weekend from 6 a.m.
And is that a gardening tan?
No, it's a cypress tan.
With me, Bev Turner, it is a Friday, and of course there is a wonderful live audience in the studio here. Now, Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice, has criticised King Charles after he raised the issue of borders in that state banquet speech this week. Let's remind ourselves what he said.
Our security services and police will go further still to protect us against the profound challenges of terrorism, organised crime, cyber attacks, and, of course, irregular migration across the English Channel.
Even really looked like he was sure what he was talking about there, did he? Now, Richard Tice said it was unwise for the King to use any of that language about the boats during Emmanuel Macron's state visit. He said he believed Queen Elizabeth II would have been much more careful and would have refrained from raising the subject. So is Richard Tice right? Can we go to our audience? Just find out. I can get you to ask questions, which is brilliant. David, on the front row there, what do you think of this?
Do you actually think that the MPs have any right to criticise the monarchy when they can't even do their own job right?
It's a bit rich. No, it's true. I mean, the monarchy has to walk a tightrope. It's always damned if it does, damned if it doesn't. So they're kind of preoccupied with that. But MPs can't be saying anything. The audacity of our MPs to have anything negative to say about a monarchy that, by and large, does their job pretty well. I mean, outside of Harry and Meghan, you don't really hear the royal family getting into any sort of outlandish scandals. Don't get me started on Prince Andrew, who should be banished to a one-bedroom flat in Goa. But you know,
what the Goan's done to you.
But I mean, outside of that, you don't really hear very much going absolutely wrong. But look at the state of this country. There's nothing going right. So I don't think anyone in Parliament should have anything to say about what the royal family are doing until they get their house in order.
But that issue, though, of how political the royals should be, Matthew, is one of those hardy perennial topics, isn't it? We talk about it all the time, on and off. And it feels like King Charles it almost looked like he'd just been handed quite a political statement to read out, and he wasn't even sure what he was talking about when he said about cyber security and
I mean, he's always been political, and he got caught out for doing so with those famous spider letters, as they called them, because of the ink that he used and his awful handwriting. I think the Queen, you know, for all the criticism...
A GP.
Me and many others over the years may have over the idea of a monarchy, played a blinder over her lifetime. I think other than, you know, the Diana situation where Tony Blair got on the phone and she ended up coming out and speaking, she didn't put a foot wrong for me, and I thought she was a great... She was, I don't know, that thing of stability within a country. You knew he was always going to be all right. King Charles hadn't got it, and if I was ever in a position to give them advice, I would say he should have abdicated. I know he's always wanted to do
William
it.
got
Prince
it.
William is far more in tune with the British public, I think, than and I think Charles also, you know, he made his bed with the whole Diana situation. He's never really been liked properly. I think William and Kate, you know, they put their best foot forward. I like the stuff Prince William does on homelessness and similar to his mum with his charity work. I think he should have left it and just disappeared.
Does it show a certain maybe naivety of Richard Tice as a new MP and relatively new to politics to have commented on the monarchy?
I suppose I don't think the monarchy are above criticism. I think if he wishes to air criticism, now, you know, more power to him. I think it can be awkward if, you know, you're possibly going to form the next government, and if Nigel Farage is away or ill and you've got to deputise to him in his weekly audience with the King, that'll get quite interesting, I'm sure. So he might not have thought that through very well. But I don't think they're above criticism, no.
No. Christo?
Well, he sort of contradicted himself a little bit, didn't he? Because he said all of these problems that we have no borders, which we're all a fan of, aren't we? And but then he went on to say that we need to tackle irregular migration across the English Channel. But you could tell he hated saying that. He was, and we need to tackle.
Do you think he did hate saying it?
Yeah, because I think that he wants open borders.
Well, there's no language he could use that wouldn't get him in trouble. If he said illegal migration, the BBC would probably lose its head.
Well, how about just not mentioning it? Because I think that...
I don't think he wrote it.
Then read what you're going to say if you're the King. I think Richard Tice is right. And I think King Charles has got this real problem because we know so much about what he thinks already, and we didn't know anything. I mean, one of the reasons that the Queen, late Queen, never put a foot wrong was because we knew so little about what she thinks. We know everything. We know his inside leg measurement. We know those calls he had with Camilla, which we won't go into, but, you know, there were sanitary products involved. And it was... We know so much, and I think that now that's why he's got to be super careful, and he isn't. He isn't. And he's wrong.
I think... I speak for quite a lot of people, especially people I've spoke to out there, that my love of the royal family died with the Queen. I loved the Queen because my nan, I used to sit there, my nan used to live with me for a bit, and we used to sit there and she got a lot of joy out of watching the Queen. I actually do not like King Charles. He's too woke. I think the Penn incident where he shushed away the aid, I think that shows the type of person he is.
He was grieving his mother, in fact.
I don't want to get rid of the royal family. I think they're part of our heritage.
You don't like them.
No, I don't like...
He doesn't like King Charles.
I don't want to get rid of them. I think they bring a lot to this country. But
what about William and Kate? Do you like them?
I like them, yeah. But how dare someone like King Charles try and get involved in things like open borders? He's not the one whose community are being ravaged by illegal immigrants, harassing schoolgirls or touching schoolgirls. That's happening in my area. He lives behind big palace walls. This does not affect him. He's the elite. We are dealing with some really bad people being imported into this country. Bad sexual criminals and violent criminals as well, and they're putting them in hotels next to schools around us in our communities. That does not affect our King.
OK.
If you didn't want...
Go on, David, hold your mic up.
If you didn't want the migrants, I mean, the migrants come in here and in their own country, like incest, normal.
Yeah.
But they come in here, they throw their passports away, everyone's thrown away. So who's actually coming into the country?
Look, it just proves the King has no power politically, because can you imagine a medieval king, you know, Henry VIII or something, allowing an invasion of men, foreign men, to come into this country and break our laws?
What do you think about...
What would happen?
What do you think about this change in the language to irregular migration? Do we know who we can tie that to? Who first used that phrase? Do we know? I'd love to look into it, because I think those language shifts are so interesting and they're so important.
I don't know who you can tie it to, and I think it partly comes from the fact that... it isn't illegal, and people won't like me saying that. But the point
it was until Labour took the policy away.
No.
It was illegal to cross the channel.
Let me be very clear. The 1951 Convention on Refugees says that the only legal way you can claim asylum in a country is to be in that country, which means, where the word comes in, that you would travel by irregular means if you are a true asylum seeker. We have a lot of economic migrants that are throwing passports in the channel and all the rest of it. Totally know that, and that's why I think we should change the convention.
That's not entirely accurate. So, if you hold on, this is immigration, and as someone who's actually had to go through immigration in this country, which many people who tend to comment on this haven't. If you come to this country without permission to do so, you are an illegal migrant because you have broken the law to come here. Now, you are right that the only way to claim asylum here in the UK, but that's not the only way to get to the UK. So there are many ways to get to the UK. You could be a tourist, you could be a student, you could come by various means. I mean, the immigration.
A flight out of Kiev recently?
Excuse me, I've gone through the immigration process in Ghana. You go through it in a West African country and tell me what it's like to go through immigration to any country outside.
So that's one aspect.
No,
but
but
again,
hold on.
if you tried to get a flight out of Kiev, I've known people that have done it out of Somalia.
I'm not talking about a war zone. I mean, you have people.
But they are asylum seekers.
There are people sorry. Ukrainians have a legal route to come into the UK. Anyway, but I'm just clarifying. Hold on. I'm just clarifying. The asylum system in this country is so abused that Indian nationals, who actually many people don't know this, can have visa-free entry into Serbia. Many of them are going through Serbia to come to this, to cross the channel so they can actually get home fees, tuition in the UK by claiming asylum. That's just one extent, and there were 2,000 cases in the last couple of years of just this kind of abuse. The point that I'm making is, yes, it's a highly charged topic, but it doesn't matter why you're coming to the UK. If you come to the UK without formal permission, you are an illegal migrant because you have broken the law. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
Somebody in our panel would like to ask a quick question. Oh, sorry, in our audience.
Do you want the mic? Can I just make a point that when they're claiming asylum, they're supposed to claim asylum in the first safe country that they come to.
Not true.
Which is not Britain, probably not even France or Belgium. That they've gone through about 4 or 5 safe countries before they come here. So they have no grounds whatsoever for claiming asylum here. It should be in the first safe country.
100%.
And on that, very clear. Statistics will show 90% of them do. That's why you see places like Jordan having 1 million refugees in tents, and it's like outdoor prison. For those that don't, there is no legal requirement for them to do so. Whether that needs revisiting, yes, happy to have that conversation, but there is no legal requirement.
Let's just remember, there was a BBC interview where someone went, I think he was Iranian, he went to Greece, he was put in a tent, didn't like the tent, so he ended up here. And the BBC rolled him out, and he basically said, I want a house. Right? So his whole reason for coming here was for a house. And let's be honest, all these people in the hotels, within the next 2 years, will have a house. And that is the absurdity of this country.
Which all the landlords will end up having to rent to them, which is exactly what we were talking about before.
We just got to move on, guys. Thank you. We've got some breaking news, actually. Remember that Air India crash? It resulted in 260 deaths. Well, a preliminary report is saying that switches to both engines' fuel supplies were turned off seconds after takeoff, and that could have triggered that loss of power, of thrust, which resulted in the jet ploughing into a medical college. Black box analysis has so far been unable to rule out improper, inadvertent or intentional action that caused them to be moved from the run position to the cut-off position. Cockpit audio also confirmed that one of the pilots asks, "Why did you cut off?" And the other replied, "I didn't." We're going to bring you more on that in the next hour, but certainly for those people who are relatives of those who died, that will be evoking huge emotions this evening. Right, up next, Wes Streeting is telling GPs to prescribe the gym for those who claim they are too sick to work. Will this fix Britain's sick note epidemic? Stay with GB News.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's News Channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Join me, Nana Okwir, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's News Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
A good news, common sense story. Fewer sick notes from the doctor, and instead people will be given a job coach or gym session. So this is a new scheme that will be trialled in 15 regions to see if state-sponsored skivers can get their backsides in gear and in shape. Will it finally stop Britain's sick note epidemic? Christo?
Well, I don't know why you came to me first, but to go to the gym. Thank you very much indeed. I think that what it will really help and why it is a good news story is, you know, I've years ago had real issues with like addiction and with mental health and all of these sorts of things. I never felt worse when I got back from the gym. I never felt bad for going to the gym. And the problem is that we have a mindset in this country that if we feel terrible about whatever it is, we don't want to go to the gym and we don't want to go to work. But you always feel better after both. Yeah. Always. And so if this can lead to that, then it actually might be, dare I say it, and I might burst into flames, some common sense from this government.
Yeah. Adam?
Look, I think we're known as one of the laziest countries in Europe. Since COVID, I think less workers have gone back to work than any other country. It's quite obvious that people are gaming our sick benefits, our disability benefits. But what chance have you got of getting people to go to the gym when we have a government and a media that's pushing fat jabs that people are dying of, people are getting sick with? It's a quick fix. You can't have it both ways.
That's
you can't.
Nonsense. That is absolute nonsense.
People are dying and people are getting sick.
Well, the people dying are people that shouldn't be on them.
Losing weight on them. I've been taking them for absolutely
Would it not be better that someone is maybe who is only a stone overweight goes to the gym rather than jabs himself every
Hang on,
day.
so you...
Yeah, I take them. I've taken them. I've lost 7 stone.
No, you haven't.
Well done, yeah.
No, I'm in my 7th stone. I'm in my 7th stone. I got
really impressive. That's
really
amazing.
And it's not a quick fix.
No, you were morbidly obese. I'm talking about people that use it to lose a stone.
Why is that put out words?
Right? No, let's be honest here.
I'm not insulted
Let's
by
be
that.
honest. No, let's be honest.
address it,
You was,
obviously.
Christo, and it's fantastic what you've done. But we have people jabbing themselves to lose a stone to go on holiday.
That's the abuse of it,
Okay,
though. That's the abuse of it.
I can't believe this conversation.
Or is it that once you have seeded this idea that it is a quick fix, then I have a friend who is by no means overweight and who was telling me this week, she was showing me pictures on her phone that she took to make herself look fatter. I mean, she was laughing as she was telling me. She might want in real life, I don't know, to lose a stone, to feel like she's bikini body ready, whatever that means. So, but she was taking pictures of herself sat on the sofa with, like, trying to stick her belly out because this website said, we'll send you the drugs, but you've got to prove it. In the end, they didn't send her the drugs, which I think was good. There was clearly a safeguarding there.
That's the abuse of it.
But it's only abused because we think that the fat jabs don't come with any risk.
Can I suggest a better solution? So I have a Pure Gym membership, which is reasonable. I'm sure it's probably cheaper than anything the government is spending money on because we know that the government's fiscal discipline is through the floor.
Yeah.
Get someone a Pure Gym membership because Pure Gym actually notes when you enter and how long you spend in there and then when you come out. And they also have a lot of online... I can't believe this is a Pure Gym, man. They have a lot of online classes. Go there 3 times a week, recorded, do the classes, and then you get some form of benefits. If you don't,
Great idea.
There's no coach, no nothing. Look, you shouldn't have to hold people's hands to this extent. I mean, even that is quite generous, really. The idea, again, I have very low expectations of this government because if I think you're overseeing a crumbling justice system, the NHS is falling apart, the economy is ground to a halt, infrastructure is falling apart, you can't even secure our borders. Any other idea, like, oh, let's feed people, let's go to the gym, it's completely secondary. Get the basics right.
But the health issue is huge in this country, and they have to get the country fitter. Like, if they have one obligation, I would say...
Well, one thing they could do is stop paying people to stay home for being obese. That's the first thing.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's
an obvious one. Stop keeping the obese and anxious at home. I'm sorry, that sounds really crude, but it's the truth. I would seriously do something about these sort of Just Eat and these food apps where you can order often very unhealthy foods and have the convenience of it being delivered to your house.
They'll never do that.
And many of whom, exactly, their employment records are not very good. Many of them are of a certain background.
40% they reckon are illegal immigrants from these food delivery apps.
But Matt, I think this is a good idea. If you go to see your GP, they're going to say, we'll give you someone to work with to get your CV in shape, to give you some ideas for a job, and we're going to help you get fit. That is going to help people's mental well-being, surely.
Yeah, and I think we've focused a lot on the physical aspect. I think going to the gym and exercise is amazing for the mental aspect as well. And I worry about some of the ideas Esther's put forward purely because I like working out, and no, not like a gym membership. In tying that to someone's benefits and whether you should go. I like many people have been on benefits in my life. I'm also one in 4 that struggles with depression. I would have loved to have gone to the gym at points during my period of being out of work during COVID. The problem was it can be hard to describe how debilitating being so depressed can be. So it's getting someone to get to that point in the first place to go to the gym. If you were to take my job seekers at the time off me, well, that's going to put me into a further...
Hold on, let me respond to that. The argument is, if I'm going to work, for example, and paying taxes, you should meet me halfway. Because the money's not coming out of it from nowhere.
We've been beaten by the clock. Thank you so much. Next, why won't President Trump address Parliament in his state visit? How outrageous do you think that is? And Sophie Reaper at the Oasis concert. In just a minute, don't wait.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's going to be a very warm night out there. Clear skies for most, but temperatures in many places not dropping below the high teens or even low 20s. And with high pressure in charge, we're going to see plenty of sunshine as we start the weekend and even hotter weather to come. Now, we do have an area of low cloud and mist around the North Sea. That's going to just creep inland in some parts of eastern Scotland and eastern England overnight. Otherwise, it's clear skies and temperatures not falling far. 17, 18 Celsius typically, but in some spots, particularly, say, Western Scotland, temperatures won't fall below 20 Celsius. So an uncomfortable night for sleeping and a misty start to the day for eastern parts of Scotland with some low cloud around first thing. But elsewhere across Scotland, it's sunshine from the word go, temperatures rising quickly through the morning. Likewise for Northern Ireland, barely a cloud in the sky. Wales, Western England, seeing plenty of strong sunshine right the way through the morning with those temperatures increasing rapidly. But along that east coast, we do have that low cloud in places. That's going to limit the temperature rise a bit more during the morning. It will tend to become more restricted to the far east coast around the beaches by the afternoon. But here it's going to be cooler because of this breeze from the North Sea. So not as hot across East Anglia and the southeast compared with the last few heat waves, but inland and widely across central and western England, Wales, parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, temperatures reaching or exceeding 30 Celsius. Top temperature 34 degrees somewhere in the West Midlands. Now, Sunday is also going to be a hot day, but a couple of differences. A bit more cloud in the sky, chance of an odd shower later, temperatures a couple of degrees down on Saturdays. Then a real change takes place into the start of next week, showery and much cooler.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
With me, Bev Turner, the main man, is on holiday sunning himself. So welcome to you at home and, of course, to my wonderful studio audience. coming up tonight.
Many people in your country explained that Brexit would make it possible to fight more effectively against illegal immigration, but it's in fact since Brexit that UK has no migratory agreement with the EU.
Emmanuel Macron there blaming Brexit for illegal migration, telling us plebs we were sold a lie. Who does he think he is? Oh, and remember this.
This is a letter from His Majesty the King. It's an invitation for a second state visit. This is really special.
Painful full-body cringe watching that. Well, Donald Trump is getting that state visit this year, but he will not, we now know, be allowed to address Parliament. Why? Isn't that an outrageous snub of the most powerful man in the world who was democratically elected? And breaking tonight, a preliminary report into that devastating Air India crash, which resulted in 260 deaths, indicates switches to both engines' fuel supplies were turned off seconds after takeoff. Cockpit audio also confirmed that one of the pilots asked, "Why did you cut it off?" And the other replied, "I didn't." We'll bring you more on that as we get it. Plus,
Slip inside the eye of your mind.
Oasis are home. The band have returned to Manchester for the homecoming leg of their reunion tour. Our very own Sophie Reaper is there. Sophie, tell us, how is it?
Bev, it's the moment everyone has been waiting for happening right now. The Gallagher brothers, Oasis, reuniting in their hometown of Manchester, singing Don't Look Back in Anger on the stage right this very minute. Coming up on the show, we'll be bringing live reaction from fans coming out of Heaton Park who have just enjoyed Oasis's first gig back in their hometown of Manchester. That's still to come.
Oh, amazing. Sophie there in a bucket hat. Good to see. Now, Sophie's going to bring us all the fan reaction as the show wraps in just a few minutes. On my panel tonight, we've got broadcasting royalty Christo Foufas, pub landlord, boxer, fan favourite Adam Brooks, fearless political commentator, the brilliant Esther Kraku, and a man who is very, very popular with our audience and our inbox tonight, despite him being the lefty, Matty Torbett. All that and more. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. News 4 first with a brilliant Sophia.
Bev, thank you. Very good evening. Your latest headlines at 10 o'clock. Now we start with some breaking news in the last hour that a preliminary report into the Air India crash that killed 260 people in Ahmedabad last month says the engine fuel switches moved from run to cut off just seconds apart. It says that in the cockpit voice recording, one of the pilots is heard asking why did he cut it off, with the other pilot responding that he didn't. India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, who are leading the probe into the world's deadliest air disaster in a decade, are saying it's too early to issue guidance to Boeing or GE. Now, the Home Secretary says Britain's new migrant returns deal with France is robust and ready to face down any legal challenge. Sir Keir Starmer struck a one-in, one-out agreement with President Macron to stop the small boats, though it still needs the green light from Brussels. France's leader has blamed Brexit for fueling the crisis, but the UK insists the new plan will work, with migrants arriving illegally set to be detained upon arrival. Border Force and the RNLI were back in the Channel this morning as the first boatload reached Dover. Now, President Donald Trump has said that at least 135 people died during the flash floods in Texas. Speaking this evening, the afternoon, in Kerrville, Texas, the US president confirmed that the Coast Guard saved 169 children at Camp Mystic and that the US is taking action to ensure that the flash floods in Texas never happen again. President Trump, First Lady Melania Trump and Texas Governor Greg Abbott all met with first responders and emergency workers earlier at one of the scenes of devastation. It follows the torrential rain last week that saw the banks of the Guadalupe River burst, killing dozens. And Prince William's charity polo mats has raised over £1 million for good causes, bringing the total from his fundraising games to more than £14 million. The Prince of Wales scored during today's Royal Charity Polo Cup at Guards Polo Club near Windsor, helping his team clinch the victory. The event supports 10 charities backed by William and Kate, from Child Bereavement UK to the Forward Trust, which helps people to overcome addiction. Those are the latest GB News headlines from now. More from me in an hour, but first, it's back to Bev.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you all for being here. Now, this week, the entire British establishment rolled out the red carpet for French President Emmanuel Macron for a 3-day, very expensive state visit. He got the works: a state banquet, a carriage ride with the King, and an address, of course, to Parliament, which President Trump maybe denied. More on that later this evening. But has it paid off, as British and French governments announced a brand new one-in, one-out migration policy, whatever that means, is set to begin in weeks? Some are, of course, very sceptical. The Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, told GB News this earlier today.
The Prime Minister said yesterday is there's no single silver bullet, whether it's about this new returns agreement, which frankly I think is the right thing to do, or any of the other measures that we're talking about. We've seen 6 years of people claiming that one single thing, particularly the previous government claiming one single thing, or opposition parties claiming one single thing, is going to solve it. What we need is a comprehensive approach.
But when Macron had his turn to explain the deal, he blamed Brexit.
Need to understand that since Brexit, and I'm saying all this quite honestly, I know it's not your case, Prime Minister, but many people in your country explained that Brexit would make it possible to fight more effectively against illegal immigration. But it's in fact since Brexit that UK has no migratory agreement with the EU. In fact, therefore, for candidates for the crossing, those alternative legal admission route, nor a readmission scheme after a crossing, it creates an incentive to make the crossing the precise opposite what the Brexit has promised.
So let's see if our panel think this was just all a lot of theatre this week. Matthew, let me start with you. Do you even understand how this one-in, one-out system would work? My understanding is about 50 migrants a week we'll send back.
Yes.
That.
So my understanding of the theory, and this is not me agreeing with it, this is me trying to make sense of it, is even if 50 people are deported a week, that's a significantly increased risk of people arriving in the UK because they'll be sent straight back, allegedly, because almost everyone will be eligible. So there's the idea of, well, I maybe won't try, because what if I'm that one that gets sent back?
But the odds are still really good. The odds are very much in your favour.
Yeah, I think I try and always look for comparisons, because, you know, we've not done this before. The closest we've got is probably the EU-Turkey migration deal, which was in 2016 when Syria went to pot. And they agreed for every Syrian refugee returned from Greece to Turkey, one Syrian will be resettled from Turkey to the EU. It's a similar one-in, one-out thing. Turkey agreed to tighten its borders, which is supposedly what the French are going to do on behalf of us, despite us already giving them 800 million quid and whatever else. What you did see is that you used to get 10,000 arrivals per day at the height of the crisis. What then happened was just a few hundred per month post-deal. It was enough of a deterrent. The problem was not enough people were redistributed over several years, but there was an initial impact. It didn't scale up in the way the government says this. They hope this pilot will have the ability to scale up. That shows it may not happen, actually. I still think the best way to deal with this, which the French did offer Boris Johnson and should really still be on the table, is offshore processing, because I think the thing that annoys most people, and the audience may agree or not agree, is seeing on your TV every day the boats getting bigger and bigger, by the way, bringing people over. I think if you can stop them coming in the first place and you process people from a security point of view, but also a humane point of view of who are you a refugee or are you taking the mick? If you are a genuine refugee, we'll consider your case. If you're not, then you don't come, you stay in Calais, basically.
Should we hear from our audience on this? Is it Gary and Martin have got a comment to say on this? Yeah.
Martin, do you want to stand up with us? Yeah. All right then. Okay. That was the question basically, and during the course, I liked what you said, Esther, about migration as well. But I don't really understand. I know you've just explained it personally, but I don't kind of really understand.
It gets worse when you actually understand it. That's the horror.
Yeah. Well, my answer is no, it won't work. That's
well, if
my
you don't
answer,
laugh, you'll cry.
So, yeah.
Well, the thing is, if what Macron is saying, well, I can help, I will be able to help once we have this agreement, I will be able to do more at our border. Well, do it now.
OK, so here's the thing. I don't think we should blame the French for the fact that we have moronic politicians. And I don't usually use that word often, but I do think we've been cursed with stupid politicians. I'd like to just take a comparison. Australia, also an island, also English, also Commonwealth, many similarities. Australian politicians in 2012 managed to solve this crisis to the extent that they only had 2 people trying to illegally come across their open seas on small boats, because both major parties wanted it to happen. Very clear bipartisan agreement. They didn't have to pay £800 million to the French to do anything about it. In their case, it would have been the Indonesians, because they thought we're a sovereign country and we're an island and we should be able to get to grips with this. So they had islands that they sent these migrants to, and they were processed, and the vast majority of them were sent back. We've had similar agreements with the Belgians, for example. You never see the Belgians in the news for having people crossing over, because the Belgians actually do their job, because they're incentivized to want to get a handle on this, not just for their own national security, but for the national security of their allies. The French is a different case. Now, I suspect that this is probably a way to pressure the Brits to try and get more involved and cooperate more with the EU. That's fine. That's not our problem. The problem of what should be concerning our politicians is how do we act in the interests of the countries that I'm assuming they still like. Like, I like to think our politicians actually like Britain and would like to keep it safe. And the easy answer is stop sending money to the French, who have no interest in getting results, because the Belgians received money and they got results. So if one doesn't work, you try something else, because at the end of the day, it's the country that you're supposed to be governing that's at stake here.
So did he, therefore, Macron this week, kind of betray the fact that he is punishing?
Oh, who cares? Macron is not British. He doesn't have any responsibility to us.
No.
So we've done this one in, one out deal, which, by the way, means that when some people arrive on a boat, we turn them back, but as part of that, we take the same number through official asylum. So we don't end up with any fewer people.
No, but we can vet the other ones, so assuming the ones that didn't chuck their passports.
If you're worried about just population in general, if you're worried about infrastructure versus numbers, well, then you're still going to end up with the same number of people coming here.
And we will take from France asylum seekers who have British family ties. Which you also prove. Like, everyone's going to suddenly have a second cousin who's got a second cousin who lives down the road.
Yeah, well, a second cousin twice removed who they want to spend time with. But then, secondly, so Macron has said, right, well, now we can do this. Well, then, what have we spent £800 million on?
Yeah.
Like, what have we spent?
And also, he's blaming Brexit. The French have this problem as well. That's the irony.
They have machete wars and they have shootings in Calais and Dunkirk. The French are not our friends. They do not want them there. They want them here. At the end of the day, they do not want them back. Now,
they did burst one last week.
Remainers will try to link it to Brexit like Macron by the Dublin Agreement. The Dublin Agreement was hardly ever used. A couple of hundred went back. France started saying, no, we can't have these. And they actually tried to send us more the other way. The only thing that ties Brexit and this mass illegal immigration is the timelines. It's a worldwide problem. And that's the only way Remainers can connect it in any way. It's the same years. There's nothing that we've done from Brexit that encourages these people to come over. France don't want them. They're bad people.
More than they don't want them. Our politicians don't want to solve this problem. This is the irony. The Australians managed to do it with political parties that are diametrically opposed to each other, because we have been cursed with moronic politicians who do not actually want to solve this problem. They genuinely don't want to solve this problem.
I genuinely believe that what's happened is that the more people that we have, whether that be illegal or whether it be through the people who we've welcomed into the country, which, by the way, is a massive number, is that basically we have a country and politicians that want to increase our GDP by population number rather than actually our quality of life. That's what it is.
By the way, this is not a party political issue. This doesn't have to be a left-right issue. Look at Denmark. Denmark have basically said, no, absolutely not. You know who's leading the charge? The social democratic leader in that country, who is as far from right-wing as you could possibly get. If you have people that actually want to solve this problem, they can do it. I think it's very cheeky, and I'm being very polite here, for Macron to stand in Parliament and say, oh, it's because of Brexit. The French have exactly the same problem.
Yeah.
They have exactly the same problem, to the extent that 10 million French people voted for Marine Le Pen's party, basically on this issue. A party that is probably as radioactive since the 1990s, where she
Greece
had
have
to
just
exile her own
suspended
father.
asylum applications as well from Africa. So if you've got the political will to do this, you can do it. But Starmer and co do not want to stop this. They just want the headlines and to look like they're doing it. You know?
I would say, though, I'd feel shortchanged from Brexit, though. Most people voted Brexit based on immigration and controlling our borders. You switch on the TV today, it's more out of control than it ever.
Because our civil service didn't do anything that we wanted.
And you can thank Boris and Kemi Badenoch specifically for that.
Correct. Right, we've got to move on. There is still plenty of time to grab your chance to win a biggest cash prize. Here's all the details.
You have the chance to win our biggest cash prize to date in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just the chance to sit back, relax, and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Right, still to come tonight, Oasis lit up Heaton Park in Bury, in Manchester. 80,000 fans, sun-soaked and singing along. The fans are starting to leave the arena, and Sophie Reaper is there to tell us all about it in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. I'm Bev Turner, sitting in for Patrick. This is GB News.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
For working class families, what are the fundamentals that they are looking for? They're looking for good housing, they're looking for good schools, they're looking for good jobs that give them a fair day's wage for a fair day's graft, they're looking for a strong NHS, and they're looking for safe communities to live in. When you have all of those foundations in place, then it means that children, young people, they can flourish, they can do well alongside their parents and their grandparents. And I think if you look at what this Labour government has done, we're 10 months into a 5-year programme here, by the way, but in the first 10 months of this new Labour government, they have put major policy reforms in place across all 5 of those key foundations for working class families. And so I'm confident that we're starting to see some of it here in Basildon, where Basildon is starting to get better again. I'm confident that by the end of this Parliament, because of what the government is doing now, we will start to see some positive changes for working class families.
OK, Christo, what do you make of it?
I think that Bridget Phillipson makes a very fair point when she says that white working class families and those peoples are being left behind. But unfortunately, her actions as Education Secretary don't align with what I believe are these completely hollow words. So, for instance, we've seen white working class boys particularly, but now girls, falling behind in education for absolutely years. So why Bridget Phillipson would then bring in a policy that is seeing, by the latest figures, 13,000 private school pupils entering the state school system, why on earth she would bring in that kind of policy, whilst then having the audacity to say that she's worried about white working class pupils not doing so well, is beyond me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
An amazing audience as well. Now, Oasis have been performing in Manchester's Heaton Park, where I used to do my cross-country PE lessons, would you believe?
Is that why they chose it? That's why they chose that location?
I like to think so. Also, the Pope went and he performed in Heaton Park.
Did he?
Performed?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't think Pope's performed anything in his life.
How was Don't Look Back in Anger? Was he good?
The Pope visited. What's it called when the Pope does a...
Well, he doesn't perform. He's not like... He's not Elvis.
Did he read
reading? That's slightly underplaying it. Anyway, the
did a reading.
Tonight, an audience with the Pope? I'm sure something... Anyway, we will look into that for you. Reports say that there are now 80,000 happy Mancunians weaving their way home. So from this Berry girl, let's go to a Bolton girl, Sophie Reaper. Sophie, how is it there?
It is, in a word, Bev, it is chaos here outside Heaton Park. As you say, 80,000 fans all making their way out. We've just heard the end of the homecoming gig to Manchester. We've just heard the end of Champagne Supernova to a huge amount of fireworks. It was absolutely amazing. Superb, that in a word, superb, amazing. Magic, there you go. Let's see if we can speak to some more fans, shall we? Go on, in a word, lads, what do we think?
Fantastic.
Amazing. You're a young lad, you obviously, you've not been born that long. What did you think of Oasis?
It's just like amazing.
Amazing,
yeah,
amazing.
That's nice.
Do you feel like you've waited a long time for this, your whole life, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. You've been raised on Oasis.
Been brought up on it, haven't
Yeah,
you?
brought up. Is
Love
this
it.
dad and son?
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad raised me on Oasis as
Yeah.
well, so I can relate. Best song? What did you enjoy the most?
Live Forever.
Forever, a
Talk
classic.
Tonight.
Talk Tonight. There you go. That's a retro dad. That is a retro dad. Get home safe, lads. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
talking to us. Should we see if we can speak to someone else? The atmosphere here is just absolutely amazing.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
It was the best thing.
What each going round? Favourite song? Which was the best?
Champagne Supernova.
Right at the end?
Yeah.
Wonderwall.
For me, it was maybe Don't Look Back in Anger, or maybe
There was 3 encore
iconic.
songs
It
there.
was,
They really
the
are.
encore is all I remember now because it was so iconic. It was
song seemed to be
amazing.
Guys,
the
get
whole
home
thing
safe.
was incredible. Yeah, no,
I'm very jealous. Enjoy, stay safe, guys. Bev, it just goes to show, doesn't it, that this is what these people have been waiting for. It's been a long time coming, and people have just really soaked it up.
Oh, we fucking loved it.
Apologies for the language, apologies. I mean, you have to admit that this time of night, people have been enjoying themselves. We apologise for anyone who might be offended by that language, but I think she summed it up very well, didn't she? She summed that up absolutely perfectly. This is what people have been waiting for.
Amazing, Sophie. That is brilliant. And when does Manchester also ever get weather like that, to be fair? What a brilliant night. And I think we did all right. Yeah, apologies again for the language, but she did sum it up pretty well. Right, still to come. Can I find out from you lot? Panel, fans of Oasis, Matt?
My sister's going tomorrow. I'm fuming she's not got me a ticket. I'm deeply envious of everyone going. I thought it might be like 2 dads doing karaoke, and I saw the scenes in Cardiff last week and thought they sounded incredible. So, yeah, I'm good. I'm not going. I'm trying to find tickets some way or another.
Yeah, well, I can go back to Sophie as well, I believe. She's not gone anywhere
Oh, she
yet.
got tickets?
Well, you can't get Matt tickets, can you, Sophie? Sophie, are you actually... You've been outside tonight, you've been by the fence, listening over the fence to the music, but you're going to the concert yourself, aren't you?
I am indeed. I must say, I was very sad that we didn't manage to get in tonight as part of the press. But it's made me even more excited. We've got tickets, my mum, dad, sister and I, we're going to go and see them at Murrayfield in Edinburgh in a few weeks' time. And just listening to songs I've grown up on, Half the World Away, Little by Little, all those classics we just heard from some of those people there. And I'm hoping the atmosphere there is just as absolutely unbelievable as it's been tonight.
Oh, brilliant. Amazing. Amazing. Right, what about the rest of our panel? Christo, are you a fan?
Do you know what? This moment reminds me of the Girls Aloud reunion. It's similar. It's similarly iconic, right? Don't Look Back in Anger is just such a brilliant song. And can you imagine the entire stadium singing along to that? It would have just been amazing. I'm so jealous. Like you, I'm bitter, twisted and hateful. I'm not going.
Adam, I was never an Oasis fan.
I loved Oasis, but I also like Blur as well. It reminds me of my teenage years, and hearing a lot of the songs takes you back, really, unfortunately, to a happier time, a less complicated time. And that's why I think they're seeing such a resurgence here, because it's taking people back to a time when things weren't so bad out there, you know. But for me, I've got Wonderwall written down here. I like that song a lot.
Bit of nostalgia. What about our audience? Oasis fans? Yeah! Yes, it's funny, isn't it? So a lot of the men going, and the women are going, nah, not that bothered. There's something about them that appeals to blokes. It's very blokey music,
I'm not the person you want to ask. I'm probably the youngest person in this room.
All right,
so
don't rub it in, eh?
That's a bit rude.
I'm not...
But you were never a fan?
I don't even know one of their songs.
Shameful. You never lived.
One of them.
What about Girls Aloud?
I'm embarrassed to say yes.
Told you.
What about one of our audience? Anybody got a mic? Tell us about your... Yeah, there we go, young man in the audience. I think he's younger than you, Esther, even.
I refuse to believe that.
Your feelings on Oasis?
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
The best band in the world.
Oh, and if you've always felt like that, is that... Yeah. Best band in the world, they'd be...
Favourite song? What's your favourite song?
All of them.
Oh.
Yeah, I've seen them each, the Gallagher brothers, about 6 times each.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
I think I sort of lost patience with the public spats. I got a bit... I was like, oh, come on, stop fighting with each other.
It's funny how, like, hundreds of millions of pounds, though, can make you put any kind of animosity behind you, isn't it? It's amazing.
Exactly.
It would work for me, I must say. If I had a few $100 million to give me, I'd make up with anyone.
Well, exactly. Right, still to come this evening, we're going to be getting my panel's Greatest Britons and Union Jackasses of the Week very shortly. But next, remember this.
This is a letter from His Majesty the King. It's an invitation for a second state visit. This is really special.
Oh, it just makes me cringe every time I watch that. Donald Trump is getting that state visit, but he isn't going to be allowed to address Parliament. Why not? How can they justify that decision? We'll talk about it in just a minute. This is Bev Turner. I'm Patrick Christys tonight on GBNews.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Whilst the UK will experience Mediterranean-like temperatures on Saturday, it's not going to be quite as hot through the Mediterranean as it has been recently. For the Canaries and for Madeira, fairly typical conditions for the time of year. Breezy, partly cloudy, otherwise fine. But we've got this area of thunderstorms developing across northern Spain, the Pyrenees, Andorra, southern France. They could be quite lively. And for Italy, for Greece, sunny spells. Not quite as hot, but it is going to heat up into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's going to be a very warm night out there. Clear skies for most, but temperatures in many places not dropping below the high teens or even low 20s. And with high pressure in charge, we're going to see plenty of sunshine as we start the weekend and even hotter weather to come. Now, we do have an area of low cloud and mist around the North Sea. That's going to just creep inland in some parts of eastern Scotland and eastern England overnight. Otherwise, it's clear skies and temperatures not falling far. 17, 18 Celsius typically, but in some spots, particularly, say, western Scotland, temperatures won't fall below 20 Celsius. So an uncomfortable night for sleeping. And a misty start to the day for eastern parts of Scotland with some low cloud around first thing. But elsewhere across Scotland, it's sunshine from the word go. Temperatures rising quickly through the morning. Likewise for Northern Ireland, barely a cloud in the sky. Wales, Western England, seeing plenty of strong sunshine right the way through the morning, with those temperatures increasing rapidly. But along that east coast, we do have that low cloud in places. That's going to limit the temperature rise a bit more during the morning. It will tend to become more restricted to the far east coast around the beaches by the afternoon. But here it's going to be cooler because of this breeze from the North Sea. So not as hot across East Anglia and the southeast compared with the last few heat waves, but inland and widely across central and western England, Wales, parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, temperatures reaching or exceeding 30 Celsius. Top temperature 34 degrees somewhere in the West Midlands. Now, Sunday is also going to be a hot day, but a couple of differences. A bit more cloud in the sky, chance of an odd shower later, temperatures a couple of degrees down on Saturdays. Then a real change takes place into the start of next week, showery and much cooler.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So, remember this.
It is my pleasure to bring from His Majesty the King a letter. He sends his best wishes and his regards, of course, but he also asked me to bear this letter and bring it to you. So can I present the letter from the King to you?
Thank you very much.
Oh, it's painful. The audience here had their hands over their eyes, like the full body cringe of that.
I like that. Okay, I'm sorry to defend it, but I have to say that I thought that that was one of the moments that Keir Starmer played a blinder, because he knew exactly how
he was taking the mick
with Trump. You know, you flatter him. You remember that same week Zelensky had been in the Oval Office and it was a complete disaster. Whereas, you know, you get out an invite, you butter him up, and Trump was putting his hands.
I think on some level he knew he was taking it. He behaved like how you would try and convince a toddler that vegetables are delicious. Like, this is great.
This is how you deal with.
He's never shown this much emotion in the 10 years he's been in politics. It was clearly, you know, a mask that he was wearing.
And there's also the suggestion that King Charles didn't know he was going to do that publicly.
Oh, of course he didn't. He would have died.
He would have died.
like embarrassment.
That Starmer went above his head and made that invitation
Trump
quite
was
publicly.
like a little puppy and was so happy then. And
No,
then
I don't think so. I think he thought, you're a wally, aren't you, coming here with your stationery. Let's see what's moving on, though, because the Telegraph has now reported that Donald Trump will not be given the honour of addressing Parliament during this state visit. Now, this honour was given to President Obama, French President Macron, not to mention Pope Benedict, Nelson Mandela, Ronald Reagan, countless others, Zelensky, of course. Maybe the powers that be just don't trust some members of Parliament not to heckle, or what, Matthew Torbit? What could possibly be the justification? The most powerful man in the world comes here for a state visit and he's told he can't speak.
Well, it's not that he can't speak, it's that Parliament is in recess. Therefore, there's nobody there. So
well, we don't know that for sure because we don't know the exact date of the visit yet.
Well,
July is the assumption. So
no,
Parliament
it's September. Yeah, it's in September. It was moved.
September. Oh, OK, that's moved on then. I read July this morning.
He's actually going to be in Scotland.
No, I won't spin it. I think, regardless of who you are as a leader, we've had. I feel like we had Xi Jinping come to speak one year as well, which could be considered.
Has anyone ever heard his voice? Sorry,
I don't know. But he spoke in a smaller room. He did it in the Lord's room. I think if you're a world leader, you're entitled to come and speak. I think if people wish to heckle, they have the freedom of speech to do so. it would look embarrassing on the government if it was a member. I'd be surprised if it was a member of the Labour Party, but you couldn't put it past maybe some of the independents having strong feelings against him.
How can they justify it, though?
Well, I mean,
I think it's a different opinion to them, and I think, you know, there is the beauty of the fact that we can heckle in this country. If you had someone speaking, you know, a state opening of Russia's parliament or North Korea, you wouldn't have that same privilege.
Prime Minister's questions, like, the House of Commons is a noisy, boisterous place. It shouldn't be if Donald Trump is talking, but I don't know if it's the heckling MPs that is the problem. I think it's just that Keir Starmer doesn't want to hear what he's got to say, doesn't want him to speak, doesn't want to get the criticism of the other politicians who would say, how could you possibly entertain that man? Orange man bad, clutch our pearls. He just wants a quiet life, Keir Starmer. He hasn't got the backbone to say, no, I want him to come and speak here.
Yeah, but you have to think the same way that he's had to sort of try and charm him. You don't know how personal Trump will take that and potentially blame Keir Starmer. Now, the issue is that would affect all of us if that was to come through tariffs and whatever else.
Yeah, but
so do you take the gamble that some wally of an MP is going to get up and say something or do some sort of a protest where they all get up and walk out and it's all very embarrassing for Trump? Or do you play it safe? You give him the pomp of the king, which he loves and is totally loves the UK. He's going to go and visit his golf course, I believe. I think that's the bit in July.
Well, it's in August. He's going to be on holiday in Scotland.
And you know, that way, nothing, you know, it is a quiet sort of papering over the cracks sort of thing. You don't have to worry.
The biggest insult to Donald Trump will be to not let him speak.
Well, no, but the thing is, Donald Trump has already made history by being the first and only US president that's been given a state visit twice. So usually a successful second-term US president is given a tea or high lunch, high tea with the monarch. So he's already made history in that regard. So that's already flattery. There were some scheduling issues with this visit because he's going to be in Scotland playing golf for his holiday, and the king also had some plans. We know he's booked 3 years in advance. So that's the reason why it's sometime in September that they've locked in. I don't think this is an insult necessarily, and I don't think it's reflective of anything negative that he's not being allowed to speak. And again, my money's on Diane Abbott getting up, walking, raising a Palestine flag, something. And that's completely unnecessary. So that's the issue. But I'm sure Donald Trump is chuffed to be in the history books anyway, so I don't think he cares about
won't be chuffed to be in the history books as the president who wasn't allowed to address Parliament. He'd be devastated.
We've just seen little Napoleon come over and speak French in our Parliament. You know, the arrogance of the little man to speak French in our Parliament when he's fluent in English. He used our visit. Macron used that visit and a speech in our Parliament to get support and voters at home. It's pretty obvious there. And to deny the world's most powerful man, you know, our Parliament is full of Labour MPs and independents that have got Trump derangement syndrome. They just cannot see good in the man.
Can you imagine if he gave a speech like J.D. Vance did in Europe where he lit them up and you had European leaders looking like they'd been sucking on lemons all day?
But we need that. We need that in this country.
Well, I mean,
we need it so badly.
The reason why, and that is because David Lammy would have an aneurysm. Donald Trump would be speaking in Parliament. Sadiq Khan would be stood outside, because of course he's not an MP, needing gas and air, because they would not be able.
All the more reason to have him talking.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, look, on a serious point, love or loathe Donald Trump, he is the president of the United States, and what would be nice is if actually we had a group of MPs that were mature enough to say, well, actually, I might not agree with what you're saying, but I'm going to sit still, I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to show some respect.
Also, but given that when J.D. Vance was talking to him, given that his assessment of the Europe particularly, but particularly the UK, is that we no longer have free speech. We are just handing a massive stick to the president of America to hit this country with.
Oh, the first words out of his mouth are, Lucy Conley, my girlfriend, I'm totally here for you. And you would just see the MPs go ashen in the face because, I mean, it is an embarrassment. He might start talking about the grooming gangs. Again, a national shame. I just think it's a safe thing. They've already given him this treat. I think he's more than happy with it.
No.
I think let's not ruffle any feathers. It's disappointing, but unfortunately, that's the country we live in at the moment.
One of our audience has a question. Go on.
Hello, everyone. It's Glyn Evans from Portsmouth. I've changed my question and points about 5 times since listening to all your points and the breaking news from the Daily Telegraph. I think the reason that they don't want Trump in the Parliament is because they're petrified of what he's going to say. When you think that what he's doing in his country, I think they're absolutely petrified because it's totally the opposite. It's obviously what we're trying to do in this country.
But what does that tell us about the government? What does it tell us that they're so frightened?
Weak. Totally weak. And someone mentioned David Lammy. I mean, come on, how can anyone take him seriously? He just doesn't look like anyone that should be of any importance whatsoever. And considering what he said about Trump, Trump's got that up here. Trump's not going to use that against him, but what an insult to the most powerful man on the planet. And not only that, supposedly our most closest and strongest ally. And yet I'm sorry, Adam, I'm going to agree with you. The little Napoleon that comes over here, they roll a red carpet out for him. What's he ever done for us? And what is he going to do for us? Zilch.
Well, what's so interesting as well is that...
It was nice to see Brigitte.
Is that Starmer was making... When he was criticised this week for such an elaborate and expensive state visit for Macron, he made the point, there are some areas of the media who are saying that you don't have to welcome your friends and allies, and these are our friends. And if you want to do business with somebody, then you have to be nice to them. I'm paraphrasing, but it wasn't that much more articulate than that, to be fair. So does that not count with Donald Trump, the man with whom we want to have brilliant trade and a brilliant relationship? Apparently that doesn't matter.
Yeah, and if he notices, I think it's a really good point. If he notices and takes this as a snub, he's going to be really annoyed.
He will notice. He'll be
state visits aren't cheap, so whatever we spend on Macron's state visit, it's what we're going to spend on Donald Trump's state visit is absolutely going to be double that.
He and
at
Macron
the very
will
minimum.
be laying their state visits on the table and seeing whose is bigger.
Absolutely.
But only one president has got 2. That's the difference. Only one president's got 2 state visits.
Can you imagine Trump stood in our parliament and said to Starmer and the Labour Party, I've got illegal immigration down 94% in a few weeks. I can do it. It's politically possible. Why are you not doing it?
Yeah.
We need that. We need that.
Waving to Nigel and going, all right, mate, how are you? Starmer would hate it. David, do you want to make a point?
Yeah, I'm actually listening to what you're saying, and it's true that I think the people in Parliament, the MPs and everything, they're actually, as Glenn said, they're actually petrified of what Donald Trump's going to come in and actually say to them.
Yeah.
That, as Bev said,
Donald
the
Trump
migration and all the rest of it, he's going to crucify them.
But it's such an interesting technique if you're frightened of something, just to shut it down. It just speaks of the mood of the nation at the moment. We don't want to hear from people we don't agree with. That is the most. That's democracy dies, Matthew.
I mean, I think he wouldn't do any of that. Actually, I think if you look at the way, I think if you look at the way he was in the White House with Keir Starmer, he weirdly seems to sort of like Keir compared to some of the people he's interacted with. There's an element of respect. And I think he would mostly just enjoy the pomp and ceremony. I don't think he would... I mean, he's totally unpredictable as well, so you never know. But I don't think he would do that. And actually, out of the left-leaning MPs I know, they just wouldn't go. And they actually, a load of lords would get the opportunity, or a bit like Zelensky, you might get staff that...
Sorry to interrupt, but that's a big fear as well, is that he not only might they heckle, but he might turn up and it just be empty.
No, I don't think that'd be the case.
They choose not to even be there, which is... arguably worse.
He also doesn't need to do that.
It's MPs and Lords that get to go. So you've got, nearly 900 Lords, you have 650 MPs. If you're talking 40 MPs out of the Socialist Campaign Group, a couple of independents, Greens, whatever, you want to make a protest, I don't think you would have sort of empty chairs as such. And a bit like, I was fortunate enough to sneak in the back when Zelensky came. They opened it up to staff and everything. I think if it was something like that, it'd get filled, because it's history as well at the same time.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Now, coming up, Greatest Britain and Union Jackass in just a minute. I'm Bev Turner, watching Patrick Christys tonight on GBNews.
Who is he? What's he doing
They
there?
already know who you are, though.
Don't miss this special reunion. Eamon and Anne together again, only on GB News Breakfast this weekend from 6 a.m.
And is that a gardening tan?
No, it's a cypress tan.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Allergy practitioner Dr. Claire Anyamasigwe joins us now. Good to see you this morning.
Very good to
Does
be
the
here.
hot weather necessarily mean more pollen?
It does. It actually accelerates the issue. So you've got pollen from the trees, from the grass, you've got pollution, and now you've got the heat wave as well. So that concoction flares up the skin, especially around the nostrils. We're streaming, we're sniffling, we're itching our eyes. So for me, as an allergist, my practice is about advocating for plant-based antihistamines. So I think the prep starts the night before. You're washing the clothes that you've worn the night, during the day, so you're not bringing pollen into the home. You are eating quercetin-rich ingredients like leeks, garlic, kale. So you can make yourself a lovely soup. I would say use them together. If you are somebody that already eats quercetin-rich foods in your diet, you're doing a more plant-based diet, then you're ahead of the game. But if you're not and you've suddenly been hit this week, 26 Celsius is going higher every day. 16 million of us are suffering with hay fever. 3.4 million of that have hay fever and asthma. So for those sufferers, they're looking for a solution right now. I would combine the two. I would start changing my diet to match what I've suggested, and I would also do what your GP suggests.
Do any of these things, if you take them year in, year out, do they lessen do they have an impact over time and you become less reactive to pollen?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I'm really advocating for children. If we can get parents watching this to start children with natural raw honey, so find out about your local beekeepers, start spreading your natural jams.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It is time now for Greatest Britain and Union Jackass. Oh, I thought there might be some music played there.
Okay.
Right, who wants to go first? Ladies first.
Oh,
Esther,
gosh.
who is your Greatest Britain?
Well, West Streeting, which I didn't think I would say. But he is my greatest because I think in the last year I've been looking for one moment where a politician would be kind of honest, like at least a little bit honest. And I think he has to be given credit for saying, listen, you either accept the pay rise or you get a cut in your pension. Choose one. And I think I actually respect that because really, I didn't think I'd hear a politician even come close to being that brutally honest.
Yeah, Matt? Greatest.
I've slightly cheated by having three, but I've done Sergeant Gregory Gillespie, PC Luke Holden and PCSO Timothy Parry, who were honoured at the Police Federation of England and Wales 2025 Bravery Awards, and they were the first three people on the scene of the Southport murders and successfully arrested Axel Rudabakana whilst also directing paramedics towards those who were tragically injured. So I fully deserved, I think.
Good choice. Christo?
OK, I'm going to go for Susan Hall, former London mayoral candidate, Conservative in the London Assembly, for her barnstorming performance in questioning Sadiq Khan about London grooming gangs. You'll remember a few weeks ago he was asked about London grooming gangs. Then we had the report about about what a grooming gang is, the definition. More has come out now about whether there are London grooming gangs, and this is her questioning him.
Mr Mayor, are you not able to give us an oral update on the rape gangs in London?
We've had this conversation. I can't make the Mayor do something
that he doesn't want to do.
We'll ask a question then. Do you believe, Mr Mayor, that there are grooming gangs now in London?
So, Chair, in London, the vast majority of what we're dealing with is county lines, which involves organised criminal networks moving illegal drugs.
Mr Mayor, can I stop you? This is the answer you keep giving me. You know what a grooming gang is now. Even you must have picked up on what a rape gang is. Perhaps if I put it that way, you'll understand more.
Amazing.
And he just continued to refuse to answer. Arrogant.
Go on, Adam.
My greatest Britain is an honorary one, and it's not human. It's a hero dog that saved 67 lives in a Himalayan village. The dog alerted villagers to a landslide and saved all their lives.
Oh,
nice one.
Right. We go with an audience vote here, don't we? Right.
Definitely not West treating.
First responders for Matt. West treating. Esther? Oh, no. Not so much. Christo, Susan Hall. Adam's dog.
One thing, well done to the dog, but for the 3 police responders...
Absolutely.
Well done to the dog.
Right. Union, well done
good job.
to the dog. Union Jackass, then. Adam, let's start with you. Who's your
Mine
Union
is
Jackass?
Rachel Reeves for basically killing the economy, killing hospitality. She's costing jobs and she's making everything go up in price. She's destroying this economy and things need to change.
OK, Christo?
OK, I've gone for Emmanuel Macron, but not for the reasons you might think. Yes, of course, he slagged off Brexit, he slagged off, you know, the UK being too attractive for migrants, all of those sorts of things. But I think the most heinous thing he did was wink at Princess Catherine.
Oh, yes, he did.
Did he?
And got caught by a photographer just at the moment.
Now, I thought I'd do a little experiment and give a little wink to someone on the panel.
Oh, OK.
And see what their reaction is. So...
And the audience should know some of the texts and WhatsApps that he sends me are...
Look, I needed help with that rash, OK? And I stand by it. I stand by that photo.
Right, Esther, who's your Union Jackass?
So Sir Brian Levison, who unveiled his report, so he was asked by the... he was commissioned to try and find innovative ways to tackle court backlogs in this country. There are about 80,000 cases in our criminal courts that are waiting trial. Some have not been booked till 2029. And some of his recommendations were, other than kind of reducing the number of jury trials, which I fundamentally don't believe, I think we should still be entitled to them, is increasing the criminal damage threshold from £5,000 to £10,000. So not only is it making it harder for a crime to be a crime, but it's also increasing the threshold to which the police can even consider it a crime, even though you're still a victim of a crime. And also increasing the threshold from when, increasing the discount on a guilty plea from 33%, so if you plead guilty, you get 33% discount, to 40%, which is obscene.
OK, Matthew?
My Union Jackass is Unite the Union for suspending the Deputy Prime Minister and the most pro-trade union Prime Minister since probably John Prescott or even before, despite her resigning from Unite the Union months before. It's utterly ludicrous.
Right, OK,
I'd like to nominate them for my greatest Britain now.
I was about to say, yeah. Can I change?
I think we can safely say that one's not going to win. Esther's Levison jury trials. Clap for that.
I'm not having a strong week.
Matthews, Adams, Rachel Reeves. And Christo's winking Macron. Adam, 2 golds for Adam tonight. Union Jackass.
I think Rachel Reeves is on very thin ice and I can't see her being the Chancellor for that much longer.
What did you make of her tears?
It was an embarrassment to the UK.
Yeah. We're all in tears when we hear her talk. We're all in tears.
Right, now, if you would like...
There's a crocodile coming down the street.
Yeah.
There was a crocodile coming down the street, says our audience, not entirely buying her tears. Now, if you want to join the audience next week, go to sro.co.uk to get your ticket. We'll take a very quick break for the weather.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's going to be a very warm night out there. Clear skies for most, but temperatures in many places not dropping below the high teens or even low 20s. And with high pressure in charge, we're going to see plenty of sunshine as we start the weekend and even hotter weather to come. Now, we do have an area of low cloud and mist around the North Sea. That's going to just creep inland in some parts of eastern Scotland and eastern England overnight. Otherwise, it's clear skies and temperatures not falling far. 17, 18 Celsius typically, but in some spots, particularly, say, western Scotland, temperatures won't fall below 20 Celsius. So an uncomfortable night for sleeping. And a misty start to the day for eastern parts of Scotland with some low cloud around first thing. But elsewhere across Scotland, it's sunshine from the word go, temperatures rising quickly through the morning. Likewise for Northern Ireland, barely a cloud in the sky. Wales, Western England, seeing plenty of strong sunshine right the way through the morning with those temperatures increasing rapidly. But along that east coast, we do have that low cloud in places. That's going to limit the temperature rise a bit more during the morning. It will tend to become more restricted to the far east coast around the beaches by the afternoon. But here it's going to be cooler because of this breeze from the North Sea. So not as hot across East Anglia and the southeast compared with the last few heat waves, but inland and widely across central and western England, Wales, parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, temperatures reaching or exceeding 30 Celsius. Top temperature 34 degrees somewhere in the West Midlands. Now, Sunday is also going to be a hot day, but a couple of differences. A bit more cloud in the sky, chance of an odd shower later, temperatures a couple of degrees down on Saturdays. Then a real change takes place into the start of next week, showery and much cooler.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're kick-starting summer with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you.